Fair use is one of the most misunderstood sections of copyright law. As a former wise professor said to me many years ago, ignorance of the law is never an excuse in the courtroom, so it is best to educate yourself about fair use. One of the rights that a copyright holder has is the ability to reproduce or to authorize others to reproduce their work. But this right is subject to limitations, and those limitations can be found in sections 107 through 118 of the copyright law. But we're going to look at section 107, which is fair use. And this fair use doctrine has been determined over a number of years in court decisions and has come to be codified in the section 107 of copyright law. What is fair use? It is a doctrine of copyright law. You will find it under section 107. Fair use is not easily defined. In the law, there is no specific number of words, lines, or notes that you can safely take or use without permission. The only true way to determine fair use is in a court of law. So when in doubt, it's safest to obtain permissions. Many educators believe that fair use is just a blanket statement for them to use copyrighted materials in the classroom. Fair use is not black and white, and it is not the same for every use. In determining fair use, the court looks at what is called an equitable rule of reason. Each case is different from any other case, so each fair use has to be decided on its own. Most fair use analysis falls into one of two categories: commentary and criticism, or parody. The other part of the equitable rule of reason is the four factors. These four factors are purpose and character, nature, amount and sustainability, and effect. A useful tool for you to determine if something is fair use is to use the four-factor analysis. The original four-factor analysis was created by Dwayne K. Butler and Kenneth Cruz when they were both at Indiana University. This is not the law, but it is a way for you to determine if something does fall under fair use. And each analysis you do must stand on its own. When in doubt, you should get permission or find something else or pay for use. When using the four-factor analysis, we want to determine items that favor fair use and the items that do not favor fair use. Unlike most times when we want to have a balanced scale, in a fair use analysis, we want to have an unbalanced scale towards the side of favoring fair use. When we look at purpose, what is the purpose of why we're going to use this? And what are we going to be doing within the classroom? Making multiple copies? Are we using this in research and scholarship? We are a nonprofit educational institution. Items like that are for criticism or for news. We want to make sure that those purposes we're going to be using are on the favoring side. When we look at nature, so it's the nature of the work we are using, we want to use something that is published, that is either factual or nonfiction based, and that it is really important to what the favored educational objectives are. Now, if the nature of that work that we want to use is unpublished, or if it's something that's really creative, then those things would tend to oppose fair use. If we look at the area of amount, the courts have determined in some cases that a whole entire work being used was fair use, and in other cases that even a small amount of that work was an infringement on someone's copyright. But the biggest area the courts in the past have determined to look at is the heart of the entire work. So the amount that you're taking, if it becomes part of that heart of the entire work, you really want to try and stay away from that. When we look at the factor of effect, one of the things you don't want to do is you don't want to deprive that copyright owner of their income or undermine them in some way of something else that they could be creating from their work. One of the things we tend to forget is that there are many licensing mechanisms available today for us to use, and which will be discussed further after this section of the copyright module. When we look at areas like the Creative Commons or Copyright Clearance Center, those are some alternatives that you can use. Fair use is that one-time use, and you need to perform this four-factor analysis for this one-time use. Important factors to remember about fair use is that it is a doctrine of copyright. It is a law that allows educators to use copyrighted materials in their teaching. One of the things the court looks at is, are you using an equitable rule of reason when you determine if you can use copyrighted materials? The four-factor analysis is something that can be a great tool for you to determine if you can use copyrighted material without permission. In the event that you do determine you need permission, you really need to ask for that permission. And you can consult your employer's copyright policy.